or if you just want us to be whoever, we can be whatever you'd like us to be. But use us
Cool.
however you would.
I'd like you to be recreational basketball coaches.
Okay.
Basketball rec coaches.
That works for me.
I mean, I could go baseball or whatever, but this is what I've done this last season. That's why I set it up, was for basketball.
That sounds good. All right. So you have 20 minutes of our undivided attention.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for being here. My name's George Tunnell. I think I was already introduced, but I want to tell you a little bit about myself, and I'd like to tell you why I'm with PCA as a training manager. My background in sports, as far as coaching, has been over 20 years as a volunteer head coach. The reason I did is just because I love sports. A lot of people say they love sports and they don't really have anything behind it. I think I love sports just because I like to play. Winning, I like winning a lot, but it's not the most important thing. I'd rather play and have fun. And so in those situations, a lot of times the kids will be the same way if that's the way you teach. A little bit about two of the coaches are my favorite coaches, and then we'll get into what we're going to work on today, which is the second principle, is filling the emotional tank. I had two coaches that I remember, my first coach and my last coach. And my first coach, I only had him for 2 weeks, and his name was Corky Myers. He was a New York Yankee, and it was in YMCA. I was too young to play Little League. All my friends were 10, and you had to be 10 to start playing Little League. And so I just got it for 2 weeks. But that last game, the last day, our parents were there, and as I was running to first, I think he was on a megaphone or a microphone, I can't remember. He's like, "There's George, he runs like a deer." And 48 years later, I remember that. And so my first coach, even though it was 2 weeks, he made an impact on me to this day. And my second coach was my AAU coach and then my college coach. And I trusted my diving coach with my life for the fact of the things that I did in the air, the difficulty, and also the ability to maybe hurt myself, and I trusted him with my life in those situations. And I looked to him after every dive that I dove. Long, short, I looked at him, we'd run a couple hundred dives per workout, 5 hours a day during the summer, and then meets on the weekends. And after every dive, my coach was there, and so that's what he meant to me. And then along with that, I did learn life lessons. I learned not to quit. I learned to pick myself up. And then winning isn't everything. And today, more than ever, those life lessons have really come into play probably the last year when I tell my girls, don't quit, don't give up. And that holds true with my life today. So why I'm with PCA, Positive Coaching Alliance, is really kind of been a goal. I've been looking for Positive Coaching Alliance for probably the last 5, 6, 7 years, and I found them last year through research, and then they started appearing on my Facebook page. And the posts I would look into, I'd watch the videos, I'd read, and the more I read, the more it pointed me that this is the way I want to coach. And it was a blueprint of everything that I wanted and everything that I wanted to accomplish as far as coaching as a recreation coach. But the reason I looked for it was in my when I was coaching select basketball, and saw the intensity and saw the faces of the girls that I was coaching. That was probably, I'd say probably 70–80% won't be playing by the time they get to high school. So we'll get into our second principle, which is filling the emotional tank, and I'm going to get you involved all through this because it's about you and what you pull from this. And please stop me at any time, ask any kind of questions as we go. And filling the emotional tank. So I think some of you can see this, right? Okay. And even though it looks like a no-brainer, which car would you rather be? Would you rather be the empty tank? Anybody? Y'all got to be vocal. I'm gonna hop on you.
Full tank. Full tank.
All right.
I can't see your slide, George. But
You can't say. Well, okay, but
that's
I got
okay.
it.
I can hear you.
Okay. Well, you play like you can, because you know it. and then it's an empty tank. How far do you think you can get on an empty tank?
Not very far.
Right. And the full tank?
All the way.
All the way.
Yeah.
Where are you going? So if you look at this, I mean, a lot of times they're going, God, this is kind of goofy. But if you look at it, the kid's emotional tank is the same way. You know, how far can one of your players go on an empty tank? Can you spot that when a kid comes in with an empty emotional tank?
Yes.
I see it right away. And for whatever what reason, the ride over, a hard day at school, I've noticed that Fridays, my girls, somebody gives them candy. I know that's not supposed to make them an empty tank, but it sure does make them a little off the wall. And so when our goal is to fill their emotional tank when they come to practice and when they come to games. And so they do have emotional tanks. And so if you look at what we see here, emotional tank, when they come in, they're not positive, they're pessimistic, they give up easily, and they're harder to coach. So when you see that, what kind of things can you do? Or what kind of things will you do to fill their emotional tank to make them more optimistic that they can deal with adversity better and they're more coachable? That makes just not just for your experience, but for their experience and how they progress in their sports. So here's our first question. Did anybody ever have that coach that grabbed them? Did anybody play sports where they grabbed them by the face mask, or they threw a ball at them, or they kicked them, or they grabbed them by their jersey? Did anybody ever have a coach like that? Did anybody ever hear about a coach like that?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. What kind of effect did it have on that player?
It was degrading.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fear.
Yeah. Fear. Even if they were winning coaches, that was fear, right? Yeah. I had a coach that used to grab me under the armpit and tell us to whistle. Now, you try that on yourself and you can't whistle. He was 6'8", he grabbed me under the armpit and said whistle. He might have thought that was funny, but it didn't tickle, and I couldn't whistle. I don't know if it helped me on the next play, but I just remember what he did. I don't know if I got better or worse. I just know that it wasn't a lot of fun. So, okay, now I like to get other people involved, but I'm going to, since we are a little bit limited on our shot, I'm going to make a shot, and we're going to have 4 different scenarios, and I'm going to miss the shot. I've got an easy layup. I'm going to miss it, and I want you to fill my emotional tank. I want you to drain it. There we go. I want you to drain it all the way down to 0. And I'm gonna miss the shot and look down and look up. Y'all drain it. Okay? All right.
Oh, God.
George.
We needed that.
Terrible.
How are you thinking?
That could cost us the game.
Come on.
How could you miss
Man,
that? That was a gimme.
That was terrible.
Are you kidding
stay-
me?
I didn't want to go that low. Oh my gosh.
We've had practice.
Thank you. I don't know if I want to continue now. Okay. Now I want you to fill my emotional tank. I'm going to miss again, and there it is. Oh.
Keep shooting. Nice
Way to
job.
get open.
Oh, you
Good
want
try.
to
Good try.
You find your way, George.
You get them
You
next
got it,
time.
George.
All right, well, I'm going to shoot again. Thank you. You got me going again. I'm going to try it again, and this time, I want you to drain my emotional tank, my E-tank, not saying a word. Oh, man. Oh, you know, for some reason, those hurt just as bad or even more. That just says it all when you look to your coach and you see that. Okay, now same thing. I'm going to be 0 for 4. I don't know if I can continue after this. I must be doing something wrong. Well, y'all help me later. But I want you to fill my emotional tank, and this time I don't want you to say a word either again. So, oh, man.
fill it?
Yeah. See? Okay, I'm going to shoot again. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. What do your players experience when when you hit them with when you're draining their tank, what do you think that they experience, or what do you when emotionally with the nonverbals and the verbals?
I think they
What would you
probably,
think?
I think they probably feel like, gosh, I don't want to shoot again because
Hmm.
everybody gets mad at me
Right,
if I miss.
right. And so, how do you think, because they think like that, how do you think it makes them play? Are they?
Tentative,
Hmm.
less confidently.
Hmm.
I think it would be harmful to their performance.
Hmm.
Right. So they're afraid to take another step. It's like, oh, they're afraid. And so, and then for the opposite, when you build them up, what do you think that gives them?
Gives them confidence.
Hmm. And are they afraid to make
Well,
mistakes? Go
it's like
ahead.
George, the coach you described that you trusted. That coach had your back, and
Hmm.
so it's a feeling of support that I think makes a big difference. And my coach is behind me all the
Hmm.
way.
It sure does. It sure does. It made a big difference for me, and you can see the good coaches around us today that are even in this meeting. The difference that they've made. They probably, if they've been coaching for more than a couple seasons, they've seen that kid maybe move on to the next level. Uh, some of the kids that I coached, played at UT or pitcher, or they played high school football, or they became good golfers and things like that. And so, even though I might not have been the reason why they got good, I got to play a part in that. And they do remember. Okay, blank screen. Do y'all still see me?
Yep.
Okay, lucky you. So when what kind of things drain the emotional tank? It's criticism and correction, sarcasm, ignoring your player, and nonverbal. You've got to criticize and correct your players, or they're not going to improve. Um, if you don't do that, they'll come out they might have fun, they might like you, but at the end of the season, their jump shot's not any better, they're not dribbling any better because you're not giving them the proper criticism. Sarcasm is, a lot of people go, what's sarcasm? Well, I coach with a lot of humor, but I also make sure that that's not directed at them. Usually I'll direct it. I have a basketball law book. It's made up. And so anything we're not doing right, I'll make up a chapter and a page of what we're trying to focus on. There's no walking in basketball. Chapter 3, page 45. They're going, Coach, there's no basketball book, but that's the kind of humor, and I direct it towards myself and not towards them, because sarcasm is just as cutthroat as being nonverbal. When you turn your back on a player, man, that hurts even worse. They know it, they pick it up, and you can see those head drops in those gas tanks drain. And then, like we just did earlier, the nonverbals to me is just the posture, the eyes rolling, the turning the back. That's devastating for a kid. And a lot of you are also parents and coaches at the same time. So when they look at their parent and they see that disgust, they probably regret and they're not looking forward to that ride home. But to the opposite side, when you want to fill an emotional tank, you want to be truthful and specific. Why would you think that you want to be truthful and specific? Anybody? I know you got an idea. What?
I just think that so many times they just hear "good job," and the athletes don't really believe it
Mm-hmm.
themselves.
Yeah, so that's kind of like an itty bitty filler. It doesn't do much. It does fill, but it's really small, and it doesn't really do anything. So it's almost hollow. So even though you do that, you still have to be truthful and specific. I've actually used it for the first time this season, and it has made a huge difference for me and the player. When I see that they've done a few things right, that they did the crossover down low, that they kept their head up, that they got we use beef for shooting, balance, eyes, elbows, and follow through. So a lot of times I'll say, way to go with that. I like the way you held your follow through in beef. And then thanking them, even though it's like that, it's appreciation, expressing an appreciation. What kind of things do you use when you let a player know that you appreciate them?
pats on the back, tell him specifically, what I appreciate, so that he knows exactly, what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Awards, I do like, maybe a weekly award for
Mm-hmm.
something like hustle, which they're in control of.
Right.
Doesn't, rather than talent that doesn't necessarily get recognized, those type of things.
Yeah. What do you name your award? Do you have a name for it, or do you just call
Well,
it like the hustle award?
yeah, I mean, I just have a gymnast of the week. Okay, it's not very creative, but what I look at is,
Mm-hmm.
is more the intangibles that I want
Right.
needed, rather than the things that people would necessarily notice without me making, a specific announcement. Because the best players always get awards. It's the kid that does something that uplifts the team,
Yes.
that you want to point out, and then everybody says, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I can do that too," type thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So it also bonds the team, doesn't it? I like that a lot. That's yeah. And then of course our nonverbals, we went through the pat on the back, the thumbs up. Well, also listening. Do y'all have any players that when you start giving them the praise, but then all of a sudden they might have something to add or ask you a question, and then you cut them off and you keep talking? Listening, sometimes they're going to let you know what they're thinking and what they're feeling on a certain skill or what happens in that game. What kind of thing when one of your players talks to you about a skill or something that happened? Do you ask questions or you just listen? Anybody? Was that a hard question? Kelly, what do you think?
I think I'd like to say that I listen, but I'm sure I do more talking than I should.
Right. Well, that's kind of the nature of a coach. But I found this season, just by working on this, when I listen, sometimes it helps me help them with the crossover to get to my shot. And a lot of times that helps. Oh, okay, well, let's try it this way. And it's actually helped me by listening. And then, of course, like I finished, the nonverbals is huge because I smile a lot. Even when I'm talking to them, I think I am serious when it's time to be serious, but I do smile. And I think that relaxes them. And it fills that E-tank. So why is criticism and correction, why is it a drainer? Why is it an E-tank drainer? All right,
I
well,
think I think most of us don't like to be criticized. We don't, I think we like hearing what we're doing well, and we don't like hearing when we aren't doing it well.
that's right. That's it. But we know that by that it helps us get better. So even if you correct and criticize in a positive way, it's still a drainer. I get tripped up on this. I try to use the word try and not the word don't. Because if you're a kid out there and all you're hearing is whistle, don't, whistle, don't, whistle, don't, it reminds me of that kid that used to get on top of me and go like this. It wears on you after a while, and it's just not fun. So when I'm correcting, I try to use the word try. Try to use your crossovers low. Try to hold your follow-through longer on your beef. Make sure that you're following through on. Try to make sure that you're following through on your passes. And I've gotten better every season because I'll catch myself and I said, don't. And I think if you look at kids, I got twin granddaughters, and they say no more than they say any other word. Okay. Now when we get to the E-Tank toolkit, this has been my bread and butter this season. There's a magic ratio, and I know that y'all know that y'all have been through this class, and some of you have done that, and you know what the magic ratio is. But before I ask everybody else, I want to ask you, what was the first, before you knew this, what did you think the magic ratio was? When somebody asked you and you didn't know, what would you say the first was the ratio for correction to positive?
I thought 50-50.
Yeah.
Right.
I actually
Yeah.
thought 2 to 1 because I figured it had to be more. So I said 2 to 1.
Right. Yeah, I called it, some people call it the criticism sandwich. I call it I was in the 1 minute manager, and it was a 2 to 1. I thought you hit them with the positive, hit them with the criticism, and hit them with the attaboy on the way out. But it's 5 to 1. Oh my gosh. So, but E-Tank is necessary. So it's a 5 to 1 ratio, and there's research behind that. School learning, relationships, business, and great coaches. And I used to watch the UCLA Bruins growing up, and I didn't know this about John Wooden and his 10 championships out of his last 12 years, which is amazing. I don't care what era that was to do that he was an 85% tank filler. That's just unreal. And then you listen to his players talk, Jabbar and the guys that followed under him, and you hear them talk about what their experience was, and most of them are really great men. So it just wasn't about the wins; it was about them becoming great men. So to me, this is the proof I needed to be the coach that I want to be, with that 5 to 1 ratio. But let me ask you a question: somebody does a skill, is it hard to get 5 to 1?
Mm-hmm.
So what are other ways you think you can get that 5 to 1? Oh, really?
Yeah. You can wrap up in a sentence, but that's 20.
Oh, gone it. I was close. You know what? I got to everything but my positive charting. Okay.
Well, that's okay.
Doggone it. Okay, well, I want to thank you for being here. Don't forget to sign in so you get your certification, and then fill out your evaluation at the end of the book. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Well, if I would have got it faster, I would have liked to got my positive charting in. That's what I would. I guess I should have cut my my beginning so I could have got that, because I think the positive charting is a lot more important than my background.
Well, I don't know. Let's hear what Ruben and Steve and I have to say.
Okay.
We found a lot of strengths in what you did, and I don't know that that's necessarily one of the spots I said.
I'm here too, by the way.
Steve, did you want to? Okay, great.
Kelly, I'll comment on the pacing. George, your assignment was to do the opening, which you did. So I'm glad that you did not skip the opening, because you wouldn't have been carrying out Kelly's instructions. So you spent 4 minutes on how you would open a workshop, or part of your opening, and why this is important to you. And I thought it was very well done and very effective, and I'm glad you included that for lots of reasons.
Okay.
As far as the pacing, so if you were given 5 minutes for a workshop opening, that leaves you 15 minutes to try to get through one of the principles. That's a challenge. Mm-hmm. And so I think your pacing is good. I think there's a few places where maybe you could pick it up a little bit, but I think in a live workshop, if you're given an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours as you're supposed to, that the pace you had there will work. You kept it interactive. You used the slides as a tool and to create structure, and yet you kept peppering us with questions and involved us throughout. So, like Kelly said, I don't think pacing was an issue at all this morning.
Okay.
Thanks, Ruben. Eric, did you hear enough of it to give some feedback?
Yeah. I'm thrilled you did the story. The story was great. The story had purpose, too. It wasn't just a story. I mean, you totally set the foundation for the whole thing. And the way you talked about sort of finding PCA like it was a calling and a purpose, man, I'd much rather hear you do those pieces than the positive charting, which I'm sure would have been good as well. But I thought it was just an outstanding use of stories to advance the workshop. It wasn't just to tell a story. So I thought the whole thing was outstanding. And I would just say, when you were talking about truthful and specific, of some of the trainers talk about, oh, can I steal that? And I always say incorporate versus steal.
Ah,
But one of the things that I have incorporated was one of our trainers in Minnesota who coached at University of Minnesota to a national championship in hockey. She always said, I'm really good at truthful and specific criticism. I'm not nearly as good at truthful and specific praise. And that line, every time when I say that, people in an audience really kind of, they get the little head jerk because they know exactly what I'm saying. And I just think for almost anybody, there's certain phrases I think that universally work pretty well, and you were getting at that. But we've already perfected the truthful and specific criticism, and then challenging them to perfect the truthful and specific praise, I think, is a really good way for any trainer to sell that point.
Okay.
I like that one.
Thank you.
Yeah, Steve, do you want to give him some quick feedback?
I thought it moved well. I thought the principles and the emotional tank were clear. I thought I liked your questions. It kept it interactive. So everybody was learning. Thought it flowed well.
I want to thank you for participating too. I mean, when you answered, that's what I hope to get from the coaches, is that, because I was actually what he was using during practice, I use in the positive charting, but then he's doing it during the practice, which I learned something. So I want to thank you for that.
George, I think you did a great job. I was actually very impressed because, in a lot of the Hangouts, you're always so fun, happy, smiley, which is a great asset of yours. You're very comfortable and you're very likable. I think your energy and your enthusiasm through your smile alone is really great. And I was a little concerned that you couldn't get more serious. And I thought the tone of your voice was really great. The way that you went from sense of humor, but you also, when you were talking about how devastating it can be when a child's tank is drained by just a nonverbal from a coach, you came down to a real serious level, and I really connected with that. So that I was very impressed with. I loved your story. I've heard a lot of trainers recently in the courses say how they were in search of something to make them better coaches, and they found PCA. As Eric said, it's a purpose, and I think that's a great story to say. I was looking. I wanted to be better. Here's what I found. So I think that's a great story. And you're two different coaches. I think that's great too, that you brought up two different coaches in your life and the impact they had on you. So I would not get rid of that at all. The one thing that I would just specifically in terms of workshop management, what I call them drop-off questions, when you sort of start a sentence and then let it go and let the audience answer, they're not quite sure if they're supposed to give you an answer or not. So a few times when you sort of dropped off and then said, is anybody going to answer me? It's almost like, it seems silly to say, but we didn't really know we were supposed to answer you.
Okay.
So just to be real specific, like for example, you said, what is a kid like that has an empty tank? Or a kid that has an empty tank is like, and you stopped. Rather than saying, describe for me what a player with an empty tank would look like. I mean, that's more direct, and we know exactly what we have to do. I think your questioning is good, very conversational. The only other thing I'd like to see you add more into is a way to get us engaging with each other. So some small group, turn to a partner share, and then share with the big group. Because a lot of it, you gave us great information, but a lot of the information you told us, you could pull out of the audience rather than having to tell the audience. So I would just like to see a little bit more of that. But all in all, I think you did a great job. I'm going to incorporate the use, try, and not don't. I wrote that down. I think that's something that was a powerful statement. I thought that was very good.
Thank you.
I think as far as getting us to talk to each other, and it could happen during this principle, or it could happen in other parts of the workshop as well. But for sure you want to do that, George, whether it's part of this principle, this 15 to 20 minute piece or not, somewhere in the workshop. Actually, in several places in the workshop, you want to give us the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, that would be great. I've been watching other workshops, and I just need to, I guess, find where that would be beneficial. But I know that I could find a spot in there that do that, because I would rather them do that. That way they get to know each other. A lot of times when people get to know each other, then they open up more around everybody because they're already mingling. So yeah, that would be good. I guess say I would definitely have to spend some time and fine tune those things. But yeah, that's the goal, is getting those people involved, and I think that would let down some guards too. And then of course, like you said, I mean, I could see that when I was asking those questions that I was missing something, because there was that dead time, and so I definitely noticed that there was something I was missing on that. So definitely work on that.
Yeah, I just call it direct questioning rather than, leaving it kind of, is this a rhetorical question or do we want an answer? It's just a little bit simpler like that.
Right.
But all right, I thought you did a nice job. Thank you, George. All right, Stephen, you are up, sir.
Okay.
What are you going to be doing for us today?
I am going to be talking about the Elm Tree of Mastery.
Okay, great.
And Goal Coach.
All right. So you have all of us online here.
All right. Well, thank you for your introduction. Sport is something that's always been important in my life. Starting in grade school, I wasn't the most natural, the best student, but on the sport field, I certainly got some attention, and it always helped me. It helped me feel good about myself. It helped me do better in school, it just made me feel very comfortable. So that was something that I continued to pursue, I got involved in the sport of gymnastics in physical education class because I was strong for my weight. I could do it easily, and it made me feel good. And I continued, and I went up to a gymnastics camp. And after the gymnastics camp, I would meet many people, and I would continue training after camp throughout the year. And although my high school didn't have a team, I would go from Long Island to New York City and go to YMCA's and go to athletic clubs. Met a lot of nice people who always checked on me, made sure I was doing well. And then finally, my senior year, even though we didn't have a high school team, I started a club in my high school. They let me participate, and I won the New York State Championship, which opened up all other avenues, and I ended up getting a full scholarship to University of California, Berkeley. And we went on, and as a team, we became national champions, and I was an All-American, and that opened up many other interactions with people and a lot more encouragement. And after becoming All-American, I made the national team. So it was really a lifetime and of growing and learning through sport that really became so central to my life. And it encouraged me to major in physical education and later in sport management. And I've been, teaching sports studies at different universities now for actually the last 34 years. I've been at Springfield College in Massachusetts teaching sports studies and continuing to coach. And I've always been so excited and appreciated so much what sport has done for me that with my own kids, they got involved in sport, and I coached their Little League. Gymnastics wasn't in the public schools, so I encouraged them to get involved in a sport that wasn't so height-related. Although they played all sports, I coached them in basketball, but they stuck with soccer, and they went on and continued to get great experiences from sport, some at the high school level, some at the age group level, and one of my sons went on to play at Syracuse University. So sport has always been, a central part of my life. And I learned about the Positive Coaching Alliance, through teaching sport leadership classes. And I said, geez, this is awesome. What a great concept, the double goal coach. And I said, this is exactly, what I feel about what's important in coaching, in that you certainly can't ignore coaching, winning, because by definition, sport is defined by competition. All right, so we're all trying to win, and rules are institutionalized. Okay, you have Division I, II, and III in college, so you're supposed to be on the same, playing field, but you're all striving to win. But teaching life lessons as a cornerstone of sport is certainly equally important. And very often, it even overshadows the striving to win, because by teaching life lessons and having good teamwork and having the teams work together and having group goals, it enhances the striving to win. And also, you know, being in coaching for so many years, when your athletes come back, what do they talk about? They talk about, you know, the striving to win. They talk about the teamwork. They talk about how much fun they had together. Okay, now I even see them coming back and they're married and they have families, and they talk about how much the program and how much it meant to them and how much it meant to their education. That they remember some of the wins, but they remember the teamwork, and they remember the effort, and they remember the team trips even more than the winning. So that teaching life lessons through sport really resonates, and really, I'm excited by sharing that message through the Double Goal Coach. And this is the book that we're using in the class. It's The Power of Double Goal Coaching, and it highlights specifically the double goal coach, and it explains it and clarifies it, and keep it with you. And we're going to teach many of the concepts of the double goal coach today, but use it to refer back to, because it'll help clarify these points. Okay, so I'd like to start the class with a video, all right? And we're going to move from this double goal coach to really a cornerstone principle, the Elm Tree of Mastery principle. So I'm going to show slide 11, which is the slide that says winning as the only thing. All right, so we'll play the slide. All right, now I'd like you to react to the slide. Any reactions to this film, to this video?
I don't agree with it.
What don't you agree with?
Well, you know, the coach says winning is everything, and as you just said in the opening part of the workshop, I'm with you. I think it's fine to strive to win, but I disagree that it's everything.
I certainly agree with that. Any others, George? What do you think? Would you like to play for a coach like this?
Not really, but I have. But I have.
And how did it make you play?
Tentative, afraid, and basically I didn't stay on the team, and it wasn't, you know, it wasn't by choice.
Yeah, it certainly could be intimidating, and when we continue talking about this next major concept, the Elm Tree of Mastery, we're gonna come back to this, all right, and talk about how just focusing on winning doesn't make you necessarily play your best. Okay, so let's move on to the major concept that we're going to talk about today, the Elm Tree of Mastery. And I really like the thought of an elm tree. All right. Does anybody have elm trees in their yard? I mean, I'm sitting in my den here, and I'm looking out the window, and I'm looking at a big elm tree. All right. When you think of an elm tree, and any thoughts come to your mind? Has anybody seen an elm tree?
Yeah.
It depends on where you live. But elm tree is the most popular tree in the East. Can be 300 years old. Can be over 100 feet high. All right. It has a presence. It has a stature. All right. So it has a picture in my mind as a very strong presence. And it's a very strong concept. And the elm tree, elm is an acronym, all right? The E for effort, the L for learning, and the M for mastery, all right? And starting with the E for effort, all right? Effort is a process rather than an outcome focus, all right? And in my gym, we have a big sign that perfect practice makes perfect. And what we really try and highlight is the importance of preparation, all right? Because preparation helps you compete well, and preparation is controllable, while an outcome focus, winning is not necessarily controllable, because all the variables, such as what recruits the other team has, okay, how the refs call the game. So we focus on the effort of the controllable. Okay, learning is a focus on growth, personal growth, and also skill growth. And M for mistakes is that you want to build a culture where mistakes are tolerated, because just like you said, George, earlier, is that makes you play your best if you're playing loose. So a culture of acceptance. In fact, the book goes one step further, and it talks about mistake rituals. And a mistake ritual helps you focus on the most important thing, which is the next play. It helps you. So if you make a mistake and you have a rubber band on your wrist, for instance, and you flick the rubber band, it can kind of shock you into thinking, okay, I made the mistake, let's move on. Or you can wipe your forehead and say, that's done, I'm ready for the next play. So that you're actually playing to win rather than playing not to lose. And as we all know as coaches, that's a big difference. Yeah. Let me make it even one step clearer. All right, let's take a popular sport. Let's say basketball, okay? Because basketball is one of the most popular participation sports that we have in the United States. So in basketball, it's the fourth quarter, it's a tight game, and it's in your conference game. Okay, and if you orchestrate a shot for your guard, which you've trained for in practice, all right? And so you're dribbling, the guard takes a shot, and let's take two scenarios. One where the coach doesn't tolerate mistakes, and they don't have a culture of acceptance of mistakes. All right, what's their reaction gonna be like when you shoot and they miss a shot? Let's first just act it out. What would your expression be as a coach? All right?
Oh no!
That's right. Oh my God. So body language, really comes into play. All right. Now let's say a coach that mistakes are accepted as part of the elm tree approach. What would the expression of the coach be there?
It's okay.
Flush it.
Yeah.
Right. Either flush it or steady. All right. Act it out. Keep shooting. Okay. So that you have and you also have you have verbal. So you have the physical expression and you also have the verbal. So if it's a culture of acceptance, what would the coach say? Just blurt it out.
Try again. Keep shooting.
Yeah, keep shooting. Nice try. You'll make it next time.
Way to be aggressive.
Way to be aggressive.
Yeah, shoot or shoot.
There you go. And if it's a coach that doesn't tolerate mistakes, what might he or she say?
Don't shoot anymore.
Get out of the game.
Right. Or, oh my God.
Or
I can't believe you missed it. That's terrible.
Yeah.
Choke. All right. Believe it or not, I have seen a coach do that. Okay. I've seen in a gymnastics meet, the coach from Navy, when one of his kids fell off, he grabbed his head like choke. I mean, and when this basketball player, all right, is asked to shoot rather than with 3 minutes left, with 1 minute left, what's the basketball player gonna do or feel like, all right, when a coach doesn't tolerate mistakes, when they grab their neck and say they're choke or give negative body language? What's that basketball? What's the player going to do with 3 seconds? Do you think he or she is more likely or less likely to make the shot?
Less.
Absolutely less.
A lot less.
Yeah, and because we all know that if you're relaxed and you're loose, okay, and you're playing with flow, you have better muscle control.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Okay, let me put on one other slide here. All right, so this will be slide 13, which talks about effort, and heart. All right, so we'll play that video now. I can't talk to you now. All right. What do you feel about that video? Do you remember that video? It was the one with you know, that talks about heart.
We remember it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
what are your reactions?
I like it.
Would you like
I
to
like
play
it.
for a
I mean,
coach like that?
I think so. It's, based on what I saw in the video, he sounds like that kind of coach that's behind you as long as you you know, you give it your best effort, and you know, he's going to support you, and it's not so much about, he's not putting the pressure on us that we have to win. The first coach made you feel like you have to win or else you're a failure. Nothing else matters.
Any other thoughts? Would anybody else like to play for a coach like that, as opposed, I mean, as opposed to the other coach? Which coach would you feel more comfortable playing for?
Oh, for sure, the second coach. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Why,
George?
Even if we didn't win as much, just because, you know, I want to play, and who knows? A lot of times those guys on those teams the next year, they're better if they stay together, because they're more relaxed and they're having more fun.
Exactly, because, you know, different years you're going to have different players. Sometimes you're going to have a blend of players that you're going to win, and you might win all the time. And other times you're going to have a blend of players that if you have a coach that says winning is everything, and after the first two losses, you know, they're ready to give up. But if they have a coach like the second coach that says, I know we can do this. We have the heart. We have the effort. We have the focus. We have the camaraderie. Look at each other. We can pick each other up. By the end of the year, that team is going to be better. So certainly with the effort and the mastery approach, it certainly encourages you to do better, and it helps you to win. So as a wrap-up, we covered two main principles today, okay? And the two principles complement each other. One, the principle of double goal coach, where winning is certainly very important, okay? But winning the right way is the most important. Winning with character. Okay, and second approach, the Elm Tree of Mastery, supports this, because the Elm Tree of Mastery teaches that by a process focus, by focusing on the process and what you can control, that will enhance your winning. So it goes right along with this. And research also supports this, that if you're focused on what you can control, your anxiety goes down, your self-confidence goes up, so you're in better position to win. So what do we want all as coaches? And coaches that coach, you know, year after year, they certainly all, and me as well, we want to build a legacy of somebody who strives to win and very often develops teams that do win, okay, but teach life lessons through sport. Because these are the players that come back year in year. This is what builds a long-lasting program of success. All right? If you're in a high school or in a college, this is what encourages kids to come out. And this is the reputation of yourself, of the school, of the program, and of the sport. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. You had 2 minutes to spare there, Steve. Good job.
Thank you.
All right, Eric, would you like to start off?
Sure. I thought you did a great job. I love the establishing the credibility right off the get-go was great, because I do think, too, I mean, you're a world-class athlete and a national champion, and that's huge. In a sport, though, frankly, we do some gymnastics, but not a ton. But so immediately coming in as a national champion, a professor, again, I grew up in Belmont, Mass, you know, so I certainly know the reputation of Springfield College. So, you know, coming in as a professor, coming in as coach, coming in all those things, I think you did a great job. I think that was outstanding. I certainly think your explanations of everything are extremely clear. Little things that, as a tweak that I would recommend, and I would bet $1,000,000 Ruben wrote the same thing, is avoiding referring to things as a class, because you said that you used the word class, teaching a class, and I think that, making sure yes, you are a professor, but in this workshop, you're not necessarily there as a professor, so avoiding, phrases like this class, and I know as well you were pointing out the slide number so that we knew that what video you were playing when we weren't actually seeing them. Just making sure that it's as conversational and facilitative. You were still fantastically facilitative, but just little tweaks, since in giving something specific, I would just make you aware of that. But I just thought, again, I love that you, in summation. I mean, I just think, it was great clarity. It was very, very well done.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Eric.
So since Eric said he could read my mind, I can confirm that he can read my mind. I did write down class versus workshop. And Steve, I'm jumping in with a couple of tweaks because I thought overall it was very good. Again, this is the second time I got to see your practice, of course, and we put a lot of thought into what we were going to call our trainings, and we thought about class, we thought about training, we thought about session. Presentation very long. We quickly eliminated that, and we settled on workshop for a reason. Okay, and we thought that workshop best represented the kind of environment where we wanted to create in a PCA training. Okay, we also chose the word trainer on purpose as opposed to teacher, presenter, lecturer, and so this is following up on what Eric was talking about, and and we talk. We talk about exploring things with the participants, not the audience, because audience, words convey a lot, right? And there's, audience is passive, participants is active, and so anyway, I just want to reinforce that Eric was correct in that. I picked up on that as well. Steve, is that making sense? What Eric and I were just talking about? Yeah.
I think
little thing that will make a big difference.
Yeah, when you're with people and you see the the audience, and not when you see the session, I can certainly understand exactly what you're saying, and I think that to cater the discussion to the session, I mean. I would feel comfortable doing that. We have, sometimes you do clinics, and I've done little kids clinics, and you try and do that differently, just like it would be. Sometimes it would be parents, sometimes it would be high school coaches, probably. So I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah,
and
I absolutely encourage
words. That makes plenty of sense.
Absolutely encourage you to use the word workshop and the word trainer and the word explore. So hey, I love the way you were willing to ham it up, Steve. At one point you demonstrated a coach yelling and screaming. I think that gets our attention. I think people like that, and they usually will chuckle, but it helps helps them understand what you're talking about. And not all trainers are willing to go there, to step out and ham it up like that. And I appreciate that. I also appreciated the way that you split the two videos. You used one at the start of Elm, and then you used the other one at the end of Elm. And although the PowerPoint doesn't set it up that way, that is an effective way to use those two videos. They can be used close together, or they can use to bookend. And it seems to me you intentionally chose to bookend this section of the workshop with the videos. Oh, one other thing, Steve. I appreciate the way that you took feedback that you got in your practice session and incorporated it today. And I'll give you one specific example. The Cal, I went to Cal, which was my first choice.
Yeah, I changed that one.
Remember?
And also, in your practice, I didn't use the correct wording on the on the book.
Power of double goal coaching.
I called it, and you corrected that. So I made notes from what you said last time and tried to.
I had it right here in front of me, and sure enough, I saw you take that feedback and put it into play here.
All right, thanks, Ruben. George, did you want to give Steve some feedback?
Yeah, I enjoyed it from the get-go, just to know his background and how he thought about himself, and then how he achieved what he achieved, which to me is an awesome achievement. And then to take that and to coach college at that level, to me was already kind of got me. And then to listen to the way he looked, or the way you looked, Stephen, at coaching and the difference that you wanted to make, had me. And then when you started explaining to me the elm tree, just talking about the tree, because I'm looking out, I got an oak tree out here. So when you explained the elm tree, it kind of caught me, not making it just like a tree with things off of it. I thought of something that was powerful. And then when you something that's that big and strong, and then you start explaining it, it had that power behind it. So I really liked it, and also the way you explained things, and you kept me in the whole way.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks. Yeah, I agree. I think you were very clear. I really liked listening to you and the different intonation in your voice. I thought that was really good to keep us engaged. You have a great smile, and you're very likable too, which is interesting for a college professor, because we have a lot of people that are college professors that become trainers that aren't as animated as you are. So it was good to see. Sometimes college professors fall into that class and that lecture, and you were much more animated, which I liked. I was glad to see. I also, too, Eric, wrote down that comment right off the bat, because that hit me, glaringly, that when you said class and teacher, I was thinking, oh boy, here we go. The college professor is going to lecture to us for 20 minutes. And you didn't, so I was glad to see that. Some of the things I thought, again, very, very big strength of yours is to just tell your story about how, you overcame, your school didn't have gymnastics, and you went after it because that's what you wanted. And I like the fact that you said, sports helped you do better in school. You weren't the greatest student, but sports helped you. So you started from a very young age, and you worked your story all the way through to the level of the highest success you could possibly have. I think that's great for credibility. The other story that I loved that is unique to you and someone in your position is that you get to see athletes come back after 34 years of teaching, and you see them, or coaching, and see them come back married with kids. You get to see the full circle. A lot of the people that you'll be talking to in your workshops might only be their second or third year of coaching. And to hear that story from you, that adults are coming back, and what they remember about sports isn't the game, it's not the score, it's the team, it's the bonding, it's the life lessons, it's the determination that you taught them. So I think that's a really powerful story to put in there too. I really appreciated that. I also like with the video, after the Marshall video, you said any reactions. Sometimes I think as trainers we try to pigeonhole the questions, like, did you like that? Did you not like that? What did you think of that, coach? And you just left it open. What are your reactions to that? Because it leaves it open to some people saying, well, I would have worked really hard for that coach. I did have somebody say that one time, that that's the kind of coach that would have pushed me. I wished my high school coach was tougher on me like that coach was. And the first time somebody said that, it caught me off guard, because I thought in the PCA example, that's supposed to be bad, and the other one's supposed to be good. So it was good that you left it open-ended. I thought that was good. The one thing, just a couple just word tweaks that I put down. The one thing you said, real quick, you said effort. Elm Tree stands for effort, learning, and you originally said mastery, just the very first time you said it, and you corrected it the second time through. But I think that was just something little that I picked up. When you also said mistakes are tolerated, I think mistakes being tolerated is one way to look at it, but in the true mastery focus, we're actually embracing mistakes as learning opportunities. You said mistakes are tolerated a few times, which is true, but I almost want to have you understand the value of actually embracing mistakes, not necessarily encouraging kids to mess up all over the place, but there's a difference, I think, between just tolerating something and allowing it to happen for the learning opportunity that it could be. So again, just a little coaching tweak. Mm-hmm. The other thing too, the double goal coach, we consider that like a model of coaching, not necessarily one of the principles. One of the things that we keep common through all the workshops are the three principles: the Elm Tree of Mastery, filling the emotional tanks, and honoring the game. So when you said, the two principles, the double goal coach principle and the Elm Tree of Mastery principle, the double goal coach is more of a model of coaching, not necessarily a principle. Again, just a little tweak. I would have liked to see you go a little bit more into, you finally mentioned that, like, I wanted to see the value in the Elm Tree of Mastery. You were giving us a lot of information about it, but towards the end is where you started saying, you know, and when you're coaching or when you're playing with this mastery focus, you're relaxed and you have better muscle control. Now, you would be the person as a gymnastics coach I would look to be the expert on muscle control. Because when I'm watching gymnastics and I can see the things these men are doing, and I'm like, how in the world can they hang like an iron cross for that long? You know, so you just saying that quick little phrase of they're relaxed and they have more muscle control. I would have liked to see more or hear more on that, because that's the physical benefit of mastery focus and the performance benefit, which is what I really like to stress.
And Kelly, if time is an issue, right? Because time is always an issue. You can always say more if you have indefinite time, but we don't. So Steve, at some point, it can be as simple as, and I'm not just telling you this. There is over 25 years of research in performance, inside and outside of sports, that has proven over and over that a mastery approach produces better performance. Okay? So I don't know how long it took me to say that, 30 seconds or whatever, but I think that's what Kelly's getting at, is driving home.
Can I sort of weigh in on this, but also maybe a little different angle, Ruben?
Sure.
My cliche line always is be the magic in the room. And yeah, it's good that there's 25 years of research, but part of your magic in the room is you're an elite level world champion coach. So yeah, you need research, but as Kelly kept saying, you have a level of expertise in the room that they don't have. So the more you have a huge benefit that not every trainer has. So and there's a credibility factor to when you make those comments. So yeah, you want to rely on research, but you also standing in the room. I mean, you're in a sense part of the research. You're at the elite level. So I think that there's a way to do it without tooting your own horn and making it. But as Kelly said, I caught on that same thing too about muscle memory. I mean, here's a guy that coaches things that are the embodiment of knowing how to manage to do that. So I continue to dip into that. I think is huge.
But that's all I had. I wanted both of you. I wanted to listen to more, and that's always a good sign. Whenever I see these 20-minute snippets, it's always great to say, I'd like to hear the rest of your workshop. I'd like to see what goes on next. So I consider that a very positive reflection on what you both are doing. I appreciate your commitment to the course, both of you. You're always very thorough with your answers and very engaged and involved in other people and giving them feedback. And it was wonderful to have you guys as a part of the course.
Yeah, we enjoyed
Thank you.
Steve, do you have a couple more minutes to stay on?
Sure, absolutely.
Kelly, do you have a couple more minutes to stay on?
Yes, I'm good. I'm good for a couple minutes. Yep.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Eric. Oh, Eric, you might want to stay on for this too.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, Steve, I wanted to talk about two more things. Your background as an athlete and as a coach, absolutely. We want it to be known. We want you to have that credibility. Take advantage of that credibility that gives you instantly.
Okay.
I would suggest that the part about usually, I would suggest that you have someone introduce you whenever possible at your workshops.
Okay.
And I would have that introduction be about the athletic and coaching accomplishments. Not long and detailed. I want to introduce. So if I was introducing you, maybe you give me a few bullet points, and I say, okay, I'm going to get us started. I want to introduce our trainer from Positive Coaching Alliance, Steve Posner. Steve Posner attended Cal and competed in gymnastics on a full scholarship at Cal. He was part of an NCAA championship team. He's gone on to coach at Springfield College and whatever other details. But I would make it 3, 4, 5 accomplishment type things as a coach, and let someone else say that about you. Okay. And then when you start your workshop, then you can go. You can follow up with what then you can, which you did here, tell us what sports meant to you personally, you know, and what it meant to your family, because you brought in your kids and what it's meant. And I feel like that would be a real effective way to do that. Does that make sense, Steve?
Absolutely.
Do you agree with it?
Do I? Sure, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't need to talk. The only reason I don't need to talk about, you know, myself. The only on whatever helps the workshop.
Mm-hmm.
And if that the only reason I did talk about myself is because you guys said that it's good for your credibility.
Mm-hmm.
And so but to have a couple bullet points on accomplishment and then focus on, you know, what sport it does and is meant to me and to my family.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, I'd love to do that.
Yeah, and just to make sure that.
Oh, go ahead.
Just to make sure that I'm being clear, I think that the bullet points about accomplishments, that's what the introducer says about you.
Gotcha.
And then you follow up with the more personal and what sports meant to me, and here's what it, you know. Yeah, I think that'd be a real nice combo.
Mm-hmm. And I think too. No, I agree. I think that's what would happen naturally, because you do give your introduction to the you know, the partner, whoever's introducing you. However, I do think I really liked the part where you said there was no gymnastics in public school. I had to find it. I had to go after it. I think that tells a lot about you as a person, and I would definitely keep that part of the story in, because I think that's pretty incredible for a high school kid to just go after something and, you know, go out to Long Island and go to clubs and all that because you didn't have it available. So I think that's a really important part of the story. I wouldn't leave out.
Okay. Not to beat it to death, but I completely agree with Ruben. The only other thing is just if for some reason you find yourself in a situation where that isn't possible, an easy way to get around it is something to the effect of, you know what, we all are going to bring, you know, this is a conversation. This is an opportunity for everyone to bring something to the table. These are the things that I bring to the table. And then, you know, if you get stuck, you can still do it in a way that is not bragging. It's simply some of the things you're going to bring to the table through your experiences. So I 100% agree with Ruben, but it's also good to have a backup plan if it doesn't manifest itself.
Eric and Kelly, what do you think about perfect practice makes perfect?
I wrote that down. I circled that as well.
What do you guys think about that?
Yeah.
Steve, you know, I wanted to ask you about that, because to me it created a little contradiction about mistakes are okay.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, perfect mistakes are okay. There's probably a way they might fit together, but for me they weren't fitting together. So I just
no, I can see that, but you know, basically, you know, nobody's looking at a clock. It's not that somebody's going to be good because they spend 20 minutes longer. It's what you do with the 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than, you know, practice makes perfect, you know, if your mind is not totally focused on what you're doing, practice can be destructive as it can be helpful. So really,
I agree
completely. It's what you practice and how you practice. And I didn't have time to explain it, but that's why we do it. I definitely, you know, agree with the, you know, the mistake and the process focus, and I definitely, you know, I'm a coach where I understand that the only way you get better is to make mistakes. In fact, if you're not making mistakes, you're not getting better. Okay? But at the same time, it has to be, you know, an honest mistake. Okay, you know, not an irresponsible mistake. So we set out exactly
practice with
what
purpose.
We want to practice and how to practice and how to get better. And I want them to focus on those elements rather than, you know, just be putting in their time where their mind is not engaged in improvement.
Steve, I completely agree that practice has to be focused,
right,
intentional, and that otherwise you're wasting your time. And you're actually, you know, I've also heard practice makes permanent. And
Right,
so if you're practicing the wrong thing and you're practicing being lazy, you're more likely to be lazy. So I agree with almost everything you're saying. I do worry about the message about makes perfect, because I don't think perfect is, and I don't think it's the goal. I don't think, but maybe I could be wrong. Maybe in gymnastics,
well, for
the goal is
instance,
to
in
be perfect.
gymnastics, we're talking about, execution. So that means proper form and body position. And, you go for perfection. Of course, it doesn't happen. So if they're practicing and they're putting in their time and their legs are bent and their toes aren't extended and they don't have a good body line, it's destructive. So we aim for perfect practice, okay, because then we'll execute better in the competition. But I understand exactly what you're saying, in that the message can be confusing, especially because if it's not explained. And I don't have a problem with taking that out or changing it. But the reason I use it is because I really explain it exactly, what I mean, and so that they understand it, and I don't back it up with a winning is everything, attitude. All right, but I just, but I do, and and to tell you the truth, when I put that in, I thought that was going to come out, not necessarily with you, but it didn't surprise me, because it can connotate something that really is not my intention.
Well, I think if you have time, it's a good debate. I've had a debate about that exact thing, because I was in a room and that was the poster on the wall behind me while I was delivering the workshop. And as soon as I saw that, I'm setting up my screen and there it is. So it was kind of like the elephant in the room, and we talked about it, and it really was a healthy debate. I think when you mentioned that you actually have the sign hanging in your gym, to bring that up without explanation of how you would handle it, I think is a disservice to the strength of the phrase. You know what I mean? I think it's a good topic to bring up, but be ready to kind of explain it a little bit, because when you see that, it's like, wow, practice has to be perfect too. That's really a win at all costs type of attitude. So
I don't mean it that way.
I agree.
And I don't have to use that line in there. It's but as long as it's done and understood that it's backing the exact teachings of the PCA, all right, and how it does, and how I intend it to.
Right.
That it might be fine in there, but either way.
So Steve,
I can understand the the red flag there.
You might the first couple workshops you do, you might leave that out just not to create that complication and challenge for yourself. And then at some point you pull it in and see how it goes. See, does it go the way I want it to? Does it further the message that I'm trying to get across?
Yeah, using it as a debate might really open up a better understanding of the principles. What do you mean perfect practice? Does that mean that mistakes aren't accepted? And then from a debate issue back and forth, they might have fun with it. To clarify.
And when I get involved in the debate, I'm not going to debate the perfect practice part as much as I'm going to debate the makes perfect part. For me, the red flag is more the last two words as opposed to the first two words. But anyway, thank you, Steve, for letting me bring this up and discussing it with us. I think you had I got to be part of two really nice outings that you did as a trainer. Getting to be in the practice one and this one. So I really enjoyed both of them.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Steve.
Thanks for y'all bearing with me as far as, I thought that, when I had, Ruben's thing, it was called like a mock, workshop. So then I said, oh, well, I had my mock workshop, so I was waiting for the email. Now you do the real workshop. So when you said, okay, schedule a mock workshop, I wrote back, I had my mock workshop with Ruben. I'm waiting for the real workshop.
Well, the real workshop will be coming.
And then when you
Steve,
said,
that's good for
this is the one when everybody gets together, so you got to do it. So thanks for giving me an opportunity.
Steve, that's good for Kelly and me. That's good for Kelly and me to hear that, because here we were talking about specific words like class versus workshop, teach versus, and so the words we use to describe these two sessions that you do at the end of Kelly's course, and Kelly's is a course, Kelly and I can think about what words we use to make it clearer.
Yeah, I just was looking for
different things.
Okay, now it's final presentation, because I figured that, geez, well, everybody's mock workshops are just going on. You said you could do a practice mock workshop with Ruben. I did it. Okay, I'll get an email from Kelly that will say, okay, mock workshops are done. Now you have your final presentation or what. So I was looking for the wrong words. So thanks for letting me do it a couple days after.
It worked out well because George needed somebody else to go with him a little later too. So it all worked out.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Steve.
Okay, all right, take care.
Bye-bye.